much for him in terms of how much he relied on it. But still, with the amount of games played, I mean, it showed in game one. It's why it's one of his most comfortable go-to champions.
But something I do want to iterate on here is the style that we saw come out in that first game, because we're getting a rinse and repeat from Top Esports here, and I feel like that is just fine for them. They found ways to pick apart the fights itself, and I feel like it was LNG, as we were kind of talking about, being forced into a style that maybe they shouldn't have been forced into, in taking those aggressive fights, trying to force fights against Top Esports when they had a team that was definitely relying on the later parts of the game. Though LNG say there was nothing wrong with a couple of these picks they grabbed, as they do re-grab the Jinx, but this time they get the Nautilus instead of that Rakan.
So going to have some more options down on that bottom side, but I'd love to see TS lock this one in, and they
Let's
do
go.
the Malphite. Because in my mind, like, Wayward had phenomenal Gragas, but right, Gragas is a lot more conditional. Like, you need to be hitting those casks. You need to be using Everfrost properly. A lot of times it is just kind of hard to run front to back as a Gragas, because you will just be absorbing a lot of damage and you aren't the tankiest champion. But Malphite is a completely different beast. You are tankier. You do just have one button that is very hard to fail, especially if you're able to, like, smartly, let's say 2 minutes before Dragon, set up a fight, try and burn those summoners, then at the objective fight, just have that ultimate there. So we're going to be looking a lot at flashes for the side of LNG, so Wayward can, you know, try and have these guaranteed ultimates where Top Esports are able to find the fights they want.
I am just seeing all the crazy wombo combos potential here, and in the fact that, you know, we did see those crazy mechanics from him on the Gragas. A little bit different, but as you said, easier to execute on. In the second phase, though, we do get Tian's Viego banned away from him. I want to give that one over for a second time in a row. We have the Silas ban as well as the Trundle by Top Esports.
And now, with the fact that we didn't see jungle picked up in the first rotation, I mean, we're going to be getting into some obscure picks. We've already had SOFM bring out the Zed the other day. We hit on the Nocturne in the draft of last game, something that has seen a little bit of play. But all of the go-to junglers have been taken off the table.
And that was a big pick from Mark there as well, potentially, as the set gets taken off the board. But now, as you said, it's kind of weird to find us in this position. We typically always see the junglers picked in the first phase. What is this lyric? But it makes it that much more exciting. It makes it that much more intuitive to these teams, especially in the depth that they're willing to go to in those jungle pools, because we've already put so much focus on these junglers, and they have to get something that moves forward, that moves with grace itself in these times. As Renata actually locked in yet again for Mark, so keeping up with tradition here, it feels like, for Top Esports.
Yeah, and I want to go back to junglers and point out, like, you do still have Zhao open. Obviously, he's been nerfed, the ult duration going down a second. I believe his W also lost a bit of cooldown early on. And obviously, even going back to things like the Gore Drinker and Stare exchanges had already made him kind of fall down in terms of prio in the LPL. LNG, though, going to pull out the Karma mid. So, again, the Zhao being something that I would have as a go-to for it. Olaf as well, if you really want to pull that out. I think that one would be a little bit more rough in terms of how your composition plays out. So I like that they lock in the Zhao and have the CC setup coming out in the early game and have things to enable it. Now for the side of Top Esports, Jarvan. I mean, Immobile carries on the opposite side, right? I mean, you look, 3 champions, very easy targets for Jarvan to lock down in terms of the Karma, the Jinx, or the Jayce. This has been something we've seen a little bit, but either way,
let's go! Yes.
0-2 so far in playoffs, Mazel. 0-2 coming out in both games we've seen it play. It does have a really strong setup on sides at level 6, being able to answer plays, especially when you do have that Jayce on the top side that is incredibly squishy. Wayward, Tian both hit 6, and I feel like Allah is just dead. But same goes for the bottom side, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much anywhere where Tarzan and Doinb aren't, I feel like you have very easy setup coming out.
And I think that's the interesting part here. You see the stability and kind of the reserved nature of the composition for LNG, the Karma in mid lane with some of that stability there, trying to meet up with Tarzan. Doinb not necessarily having as much of that forward momentum for himself. Where on the side of Top Esports, execution is king. The bar is high, but my goodness, if you reach it, you are going to be smashing this game. And I'm looking at those wombo combos, turning off the lights into the unstoppable force and everything that follows within as well with the closed nature of the Cataclysm in the Moonlight Vigils that we were seeing JackeyLove pull off so many times. And so I'm very, very excited for this next game. Yes, it is a step forward for Top Esports. If they do win here, they're one game away from further pushing into the playoffs. But with the compositions themselves, I do wonder if we're going to get a different iteration, right? That level 6 mark for Top Esports is insane. Like, you look across the board at every single one of those, and they are terrifying. So a lot of the same feeling for LNG, where I want to see them play reserved and not get forced into those fights that we were seeing them do so last game.
Kind of funnily enough, I feel like the game takes different turns to where LNG, I feel like in the very early levels, much stronger with the lane profiles they have with the Zhao. But the level 6 mark, the Doinb coming out from TES, they get stronger in the mid game. And then late game, again, going to be a bit of a back and forth, but I really like the Malphite coming out to set up for JackeyLove and Mark, finding these massive team fights for the side of TES.
And again, it is all going to come down to the early synergies between the teams. The trio of Tarzan, Doinb, and Iwandi trying to get something rolling for themselves, but especially Tarzan and Doinb. And on the other side, wait till level 6, go all in for Top Esports. Tian and Knight got to get that 2v2 mid-game magic in sync to make sure that they can push forward into this series. But it's going to be a spicy one here between the two. I still think it's interesting where the jungle pools have leaned up to, but with the way that Tian was
Mazel
playing that Viego last time, what were you going to
Mazel,
say?
I was going to say, I have an update. Ox told me I'm a loser and said I did misremember. It wasn't the W cooldown on Zhao that got nerfed. It was actually the E, the audacious charge. So, Ox, a shout out to you for calling me a loser. You are absolutely correct. I am always wrong. But I don't know if that was worth interrupting you for.
I don't know if it was it, but I appreciate it. I mean, I like it, you know, calling yourself out on cast. I can appreciate that. Anybody can.
Look. We are honest people. When we are wrong, we own up to our mistakes. And Ox owns up to them for you as well.
He does indeed. I can always. I love that we've gotten the switch up. Ox is now the big brainer, and Lyric is the one that has to say sorry every time. Thank you, Ox, for that. We're changing the power dynamics here.
Now, brother.
Yeah. Nobody pays attention to you. You're just in the corner. You know, we get a couple cool stories from you occasionally, but see how that all goes, I guess.
But coming on to the Rift now, right? Again, I feel like LNG will have some options early on. We can already see in this bottom side and also in mid having the pryos available to kind of open up for Tarzan to play through. Oh, nice engage.
Flame Chompers on the other side. Mark will just take the slow and steady route around them there, but a lot of damage on Top Esports at the bottom lane. Early trade. Level 2's completed for LNG. We'll make that so. Love to see the aggression down there, and especially Iwandi and Light trying to make something happen where it was very quiet for them last game. And we said at the beginning of the day, Light needed to be integral in the later parts of the game, Lyric.
And let's also remember that, right, Light and Iwandi were the original duo before LvMao kind of came on the roster out of nowhere and took up the space, going back, you know, the days of 2020 LNG, Light and LvMao, Light and Iwandi, I'm sorry, being on the roster. So see them be put back together, because Iwandi didn't play too many series. I believe it was only the last 3 or 4 of the regular season, and now being able to show off that synergy is very nice. And going back to the bottom lane trade overall, just the fact of having the engage support up against Renata early, like sure, Renata does well against dive and engage later on, but early on with how high your cooldowns are, you can be quite vulnerable, especially if LNG put a lot of resources down towards that bottom side, which if you see now, Tarzan going for bot lane Scuttle, going to be playing with the pressure that his mid and bot are generating. Yeah,
was spotted out there. Does use the scrying orb on the other side, though. Try and spot out Tian. Will not do so, but Tian realizes just going to have to go for the hard farm style himself. Won't be able to have that aggression until the level 6 mark, but it's a good heads-up play from Tian, right? And it's a little bit different, I feel like. We've seen Tian thrive mostly when he is on that proactive early jungler, especially the early levels, because his big brain, his pathing, comes up aces for him a lot of the time. But this time, sitting back a little bit more. But I'm still looking for him to connect with Knight, right? That was something that wasn't as existent last game, but it's still so important. And I wonder if we do see that adaptation here into the second game.
I think it could be quite hard to target mid. Like maybe directly at the level 6 mark we can see it happen. Doinb always can just try and like throw the E on himself, get the movement speed and the shield, run away. But especially C-Built's tankier, engage.
That was a little bit awkward, but it's all the CC onto JackeyLove, but the wind becomes lightning, not enough damage to kill him. That's just a flash, and the heal will be TES. A little bit worse for wear, but get away from the game.
I still think it's huge coming out on this bottom side, right? Because now JackeyLove and Mark, even if, let's say, resets come out, they come back to lane, they find advantageous trades because they do have the range advantage coming out in the support role. JackeyLove not going to feel comfortable to walk forward. And Tarzan, we're going to want to see repeat ganks come through in this bottom side. Doinb's been keeping up pressure pretty well in mid. You know you have the earlier, stronger dueling jungler, so I think LNG shouldn't be afraid of 3v3s or 4v4s breaking out in the bottom lane, even if top esports are able to follow up on the play.
Much different from last game where we're getting the early aggression in top side for both teams actually early on, or a little bit later on for LNG themselves, but it is going to be more so that focus around mid, around bottom lane, at least early in this one specifically. Do want to say that we have an Infernal Dragon on the Rift. We got to see TES put a pretty big emphasis on the first two dragons itself. Ended up losing the soul, though. I don't know how much that ends up playing out for them as a win condition in its own right, but I still think that early aggression down towards bot lane, that early presence from Tian as he's just about to hit that level 6 mark, can be super integral.
100%. And for TES, I mean, I feel like they always have avenues and windows with the ultimates that they have on their team to be able to, you know, find fights or find picks throughout this game. LNG really gonna have to respect in terms of like walking too far forward or overcommitting in fights up against a Nocturne or a Malphite. But top esports are looking for a fight of themselves this time. Doesn't look like they'll be able to find it.
We're hoping that Awandi was going to step forward just a little bit more. Tian came out of the bush a little early there, but just getting
Tarzan's
his presence
coming,
down
Mazel.
there.
Tarzan's coming.
I was hoping for a little bit of a 3v3, but TES clear that wave pretty quickly and move away from it. We do have pings coming around the dragon, though, and both mid laners coming this way. Could have a little bit of a 4v4 scuffle.
And Knight having ultimate available on his side could be really impactful if he can find the Spirit Rush forward. Maybe land a key charm onto the members of LNG.
Not level 6 yet. The engage comes in from LNG. The fear connects. Who's going to die first? It's going to be Tarzan. And afterwards, Iwandi quickly follows him to the death realm. Knight chasing down Light, but Doinb is trying on the back here. They haven't found a single member of TES, though. And TES come out with a 2-0 and a dragon for themselves.
LNG just running straight into a 4-stack from the side of top esports. Not even wrapping around trying to play numerous angles. Because of having the Karma in the mid lane, you kind of just have to run forward as a coordinated unit. But again, Knight able to get the Spirit Rush off, find avenues around the fight. And then Mark doing so much to dissuade, giving the buff over to his AD carry with his W. And top esports doing a great job of turning it around. We can see here, again, critically, I feel like the charm comes out from Nightland straight onto Tarzan. He gets chunked incredibly low. JackeyLove also surviving on a sliver. Feels incredibly lucky for the side of LNG, but LNG's other members not really too comfortable to run forward once the Zhao does go down.
The scariest part is Tian wasn't even level 6 there yet. We hadn't gotten the full strength of TES at that level 6 mark that we were alluding to, and they still come out with the victory. I think LNG just getting forced a little bit there into that fight. Don't know if it's necessarily a dragon they needed to go for, but hey, they opt into it to try and get an early advantage. Does not come up for them. Now the question is, though, what is the response from LNG? How do they get themselves back into a proper position here? They're only about a 1,000 gold lead behind, but they've got to be proactive if they want to stay in this game. We said it is the lead for TES that will be damning for LNG.
Yeah, for LNG, like, All has been pushing in top, but the fact that you do have ultimate on Wayward now, I think you just pivot down towards the bot lane like we're seeing them do now. We've seen they have kill threat.
No flash on JackeyLove. He does have the heal back, though. That's a big turnaround. Iwandi trying to get something while Mark wasn't there.
Yeah, LNG try to find it. Unfortunate that the Chompers aren't able to connect on JackeyLove, lock him down longer because he does have no flash, so then maybe you're able to turn that into a winning play. Is JackeyLove now trying to set up some damage because look at the minimap. Knight does have push in mid. He's starting to make his way down, but both teams just trying to look for the engage, not able to fully find it. And for LNG, I mean, you lose Rift Herald, you aren't able to find anything on the bottom side because the engage didn't come through, and it feels like TES just coming out in spades with what they're able to get off the map.
And this is terrifying because we've said all along, TES, when they get a lead, they do not want to give you any time to even think about it. They will continuously press vision up into your jungle. They will continuously force fights on you like we saw in last game. And it's something that you definitely don't want to be on the behind the ball on for LNG. And Tarzan, who we want to see proactive, getting this combination of the mid-jungle duo together. He's got Doinb with him at his side are the Karma. And I think it's super important to see that synergy come to life here.
Yeah, and I mean, again, Doinb's kept up prio in mid, but we haven't really seen him link up too much, other than that early fight, which obviously didn't come out too favorably for the side of LNG. And they're just going to keep looking to pincer down on this bottom lane. Mark, though, finally hits level 6, so has the hostile takeover available. So will be pretty risky for LNG to answer, especially if they don't get some more deep vision down to spot out where Tian is. Because Tian doesn't need to be around bot lane. Could be, you know, decently close by in his own jungle. Be able to pop that ultimate now that he's level 7 and be able to follow up. So Top Esports having some wards down towards the bottom side. Nothing too far into TS's jungle, but having nothing towards top. So not going to have perfect information on where Tian is, and they're going to have to react appropriately. That's why you can see Ala having the respect in the top lane with where his wave's at. If he walks too far forward, Paranoia comes out, Wayward follows up with the ultimate, and he will just go down. Yeah,
and something else here that really stands out to me, and obviously Ox had tweeted about it earlier, was the fact that, you know, I don't even get to speak about it. Sorry, Ox, the mid lane is going down. Charm not connecting from Knight, but it didn't matter. Doinb goes down. He has no response.
And this goes back to what we were hitting on earlier, right? You can look for these opportunities mid early on in the game, but we've seen Doinb kind of builds a hybrid Karma, you know, goes for things like the early Moonstone Renewer and then starts pivoting into some tankier items. So later on, you won't have those opportunities available, or at least he won't go down as easily. So I like that TS are taking advantage of these opportunities now. You cover up in top side, you allow for Wayward to get the freeze and win 10 CS, pivot your way down towards spot side, and Tian really enabling the whole map so far in terms of where he's pathing.
So what I was going to say before I was rudely interrupted by Tian and Knight, as I'm going to be rudely interrupted again, is that LNG, you know, they have had the range advantage in these fights. And maybe it's not coming to fruition just yet, but it is all about the fighting for them and not being able to utilize their strengths and seeing Tian capitalize on TS's strengths in the mid lane.
Oh, of course. And I mean, especially, right, typically that advantage doesn't come online in the early game. That is about much later in the full-on 5v5s. The problem is that actually means nothing this game when you are up against a Nocturne and a Malphite, because they will always be able to find avenues onto you. You're going to have to try and kite that one out, which feels like more would have to be an overextension coming out from the side of TS, or like an overcommittal. Let's say Wayward commits the ultimate, but Light has flash up. You take that one down, you could just instantly turn on him and take him down, especially if he's set far behind, because I believe it was EDG FPX. We saw FPX Zhao, who just completely taken out of the game early on with Flandre's Jayce. Not becoming this massive tanky Malphite, and all the members of EDG were just able to delete him easily. Sadly, though, that hasn't happened this game, and TS are in a favorable position in all lanes. Top lane winning in CS, mid lane winning in CS, JackeyLove winning huge on top of just getting the plate gold from this Rift Herald.
And I guess it's the duality of the composition, right? You have all the go forward buttons, you have a lot of the execution potential there, but you also have a lot of the peel back, right? A lot of the AoE, the CC coming in, but as well as a hostile takeover always there to kind of change things around, buy time for JackeyLove for a big Moonlight Vigil. We saw it time and time again in game number 1, and that's a side point from the Ox tweet, because it is super interesting going further into this game to keep an eye on that and how LNG approach these fights, because they are approaching the fights, at least in terms of composition, a lot of the same that they did in game number 1.
Yeah, we do see something shaking up as TS once again do get the first 2 dragons like last game, but Tarzan, interestingly enough, going to go towards the Turbo Chem Tank rather than the Gorge Raker. There we go, Mazel. My memory's not too bad. Yeah, going towards the Turbo Chem Tank, so going to offer a bit more engage in terms of like running down certain members of TS's composition. Again, later on, I actually don't feel like that offers too much value. Even if you run into JackeyLove, Mark just has so many peel tools.
Oh my
feels
God.
like more. Oh, what? Woo!
He's just everything on him, but he doesn't go down. My goodness, JackeyLove. Those are the kinds of heads-up plays you expect from a championship AD. And the bot lane is now TES look to take first tower of the game.
I don't know why that damage was so surprising when he's sitting on red and white.
Yep.
And Gale Force, this is really when Aphelios comes online. And, you know, your strength over Jinx is really shown. Just being able to aggressively Gale Force forward, put your combo down. And then even comparing that to Light in this game right now. Sitting on 2 long swords, a dagger, and a pickaxe. JackeyLove is so much stronger Anytime he's left alone in the bottom side with Light, Light can have to respect and just back off. But now with first turret taken, we can see TS starting to readjust their lane allocation, right? Move your bot lane through mid, start putting Knight into a side lane where, you know, again, Doinb should be fine, especially as he's starting to finish some of his items, but it's mostly just going to be catching waves, answering waves, not willing to push out aggressively himself. So top esports now, full control. Second Rift Herald also about to come up. But TS, interestingly enough, looks like they're pivoting for a pick onto the Jinx.
They want to maybe put some more hurt onto Light down there and get a first death for himself. But I think it's still a lot of that momentum coming off of game number 1 for TES. But that's where I do want to change the focus onto LNG and look at the way that they can approach this, right? It's been a very, very quiet game from them, right, when we were trying to look for some proactivity, but with the way that they've drafted out their composition, I feel like they do feel confident in waiting a little bit longer. But the thing is, you can't let a team like TES get too far out in front of you. We've said that time and time again because of the way that they love to play the game. Now we're getting first Rift Herald for TES, which is not a commonality, but they will take advantage when it is there.
I mean, for the side of top esports, right, I mean, they've full control over, like, pretty much everywhere on the map. We actually did see them take first Rift Herald earlier on, this one being second Rift Herald for them, but still, your point still stands, right? They got first Rift Herald this game.
It still stands.
Yeah, they got first Rift Herald this game, they got second Rift Herald this game, they get every Rift Herald this game, Mazel. So if Baron counts as an evolution of Rift Herald, you know, they're definitely going to get that as well. Now, again, transitioning into having Knight inside, so like we just hit on, having so much pressure, able to take this turret. LNG pretty much going to always have to commit Tarzan to play with Doinb if he wants to be safe, building the more supportive elements on Karma as JackeyLove goes for it again.
Yet again, and the AoE, oh, the Calibrum, that would have been Light's death, but he flashes out of the way. The wave in mid lane will be cleared out by Allah. JackeyLove throwing the thumbs up, knows what he's doing and knows the confidence that he's packing.
Yeah, I mean, just absolutely. Top esports are using every advantage they have right now and pushing them forward, right? They're not being like a bystander through the game, waiting for Dragon to come up before they find this, committing Knight, aggressively pushing in this lane, forcing two members to come answer, allowing JackeyLove to go for these plays in mid, while Wayward's just chilling, knows, hey, I'm going to be useful throughout the game, has the Frostfire Gauntlet now completed, even sitting on the Warden's Mail still like he's been sitting on throughout the early laning phase. And now for TS, you can start putting your resources down into the bottom side to start setting up for this Dragon.
They have exploded this lead, about 4,000 gold in advantage for top esports, and a little bit of a different state of the game than last time. We were neck and neck in these kinds of points between these two teams. The skirmish is going either way. LNG actually coming away with a lot of the fights themselves. As we said, they slowly stacked up those 4 dragons to get Soul, but here top esports feel absolutely in control, and I think we're going to have to see some of that life from LNG in the next few minutes to really have a say in this, as we see second Rift Herald spawn in the mid lane for JackeyLove and TES.
Yeah, and I mean, right, I mean, this one just kind of rough at this point. They have a 5K gold lead. They literally are winning and have pressure in all of their lanes, so they're able to do whatever they want. They get tower topside back, start playing in enemy jungle. For LNG, it feels like you just got to stabilize for now. I don't even feel like you try and contest this. You make your way towards topside, you get the objective bounty on top turret, and then I feel like the way LNG have to start looking for comebacks is even starting to drop side lane waves yourself, maybe early grouping mid and trying to force numbers advantage and find picks. But a lot of that's going to rely on Iwandi. Tarzan also having the turbo chem tank, so maybe you can try and find something with him. But you can't fight on windows where top esports already have the setup. And since you're behind, you can't really get favorable setup yourself. A lot of it's going to come down to, again, giving up something somewhere to force somewhere else on the map for their side.
And that's another thing here when you look at the composition. It is terrifying to go, like, you set yourself up for a 5v5 fight, right? You have a very stable composition itself. But that's kind of what top esports wants you to do, right? They're waiting for you to group up to get an unstoppable force, a hostile takeover, or some more kills. As Knight gets the engage onto Iwandi. Wayward's here, unstoppable force onto Light. They can't connect the damage, but the lights go out. Hostile takeover comes clean. Iwandi goes down to Knight, and the rest of LNG are running for the hills. Allah is down. The last Spirit Rush available for Knight does not connect the damage onto him, as it is a double kill for Knight himself. The AoE and Doinb trying himself to get the damage back. He's been popping shots, but he does not have it as the Karma. They get out Tarzan and Doinb, but it's still all of LNG routed.
And I think LNG, right, they make an understandable move. They know they can't fight dragons, so they go towards top side, they look for the cross map. But with the TPs available for the side of TS, they're able to quickly traverse the map. And again, they have the Nocturne as well, so it doesn't matter if Tian's even fully here or not. He'll be able to join in an instant after Wayward hits that ultimate. And even though it looks like Light gets away here, the hostile takeover does so much to lock 3 members of LNG in place, help Knight get more of those resets so we can keep going forward and find more kills. So again, a lot of it coming down to Wayward committing the TP and having the paranoia available on the Nocturne to be able to fully commit and find these fights.
And I can appreciate Light trying to like turn around, get a couple pop shots in at the last second, but the lights go out again. Who's got the power to the light switch? It's Tian.
Yeah, this one, this one's an absolute massacre. No power for the side of LNG today. Losing all of their jungle camps, pushing in waves, and I mean, even if like let's say you try to like flip a fight or something like that, and you just go all out. The problem is fighting into TS when they have this massive front line coming through from Wayward is just going to be so difficult. Even Mark, his hostile takeover about to come through once again, so LNG running forward is going to be quite hard. All of top esports grouped up as a 5-man. Iwandi's ult wasted.
TS are here though. Wayward is not with Unstoppable Force. He needs to watch out. He's getting into throw a hostile takeover though. He's beautiful from the other side. And here comes the reinforcements for Wayward. Mega Death Rocket hits from Light though. And it is unfortunately his life he has to give, even with all the help from his teammates.
So able to find a pick on Wayward since the other members of top esports don't feel comfortable just brute forcing their way in around that Krug wall. So having to go the long way around, are able to find one pick. Doesn't change the state of the game or the map state for the side of LNG, but at this point, right, any overextension, any pick you can find is something you'll take, especially if they're just going to commit 3 members.
Momentum.
First kill, you're right. Woo!
Oh no. I'm sorry. I don't know if we cast a curse here or what. He's caught out a little bit. He has the rest of his team there, but here comes the Nocturne. Charm will not connect, but the Moonlight Vigil does, and the AoE is all there. TS wipe the floor with the 3 in the bottom lane, the 4 rather, as it's another huge takeaway. And LNG might have got 1 kill, but it's all TES.
They were hoping to push down, get that bot lane through, get some bounty gold, and try and find their way back. They're trying to, you know, take some risks to be able to get ahead. Well, not get ahead, but get back in the game. Sadly, though, Alla not around the fight as well, so you didn't even have the numbers advantage that you would have from killing Wayward. And now for the side of TS, just going to turn towards the Baron.
They will burn this down, and very, very quickly so. Their lead is helping them so much. But the thing is here that I want to highlight, TS themselves have adapted into the series itself in both of them so far. It feels like Mega Death Rocket won't get anything this time around, but it's been incredible to see, you know, game 1 a little bit rocky from top esports, but in game 2 both times now they have come out smashing, knowing exactly the style they want to go for, as we do get a replay of Iwandi getting caught out a little bit.
Yeah, Iwandi, a bit of an unfortunate pathing taken from him with the Hex Gate. And again, Alla's not here. Alla went to clear mid-wave. So now you just have a straight-up 4v4. Your Nautilus is already chunked from the fact that he just walked through numerous members, had to blow the flash, and TS, just able to turn it. As, like you were saying, for TS, the one player I really want to highlight is maybe we get an engage here, so maybe I shouldn't highlight anyone.
Keep on fighting. Here is Val-style takeover. Goes across 3 members. Iwandi getting hit by Light, but now Tarzan with the Crescent Guard will not buy that much time. Here comes the light switch, and here comes TES. It's all black and red, and Alla, the only one left for LNG. He'll be run down to the dirt just like the rest of his teammates. He gets 1 back, the 2nd kill for LNG, but it's a participation trophy in this 2nd game.
And for LNG, it's just so hard to play against the Nocturne Malphite. You see Light. I mean, you don't even really get to play this game as an AD carry with the composition on the opposite side, and TS might just brute force this one home. There's only 10 seconds on Light, so maybe not able to fully do it, but instantly pivot towards that top side. You see Tian taking Dragon, and that's the play I really want to highlight. Tian, I feel like, has been so hit or miss this split. A lot of games just going in, giving kills over to the opposite side with some really bad timed invades, but this game, and so far in the series, Tian playing extremely well.
Coming from Young Miracles in 2018, substituting behind Hacker on Suning. becoming World's Finals MVP for FPX. This guy has a long track record, but he has the skills to back it up.
And we see right there, Wayward and Tian once again find their way onto Light. The other members just able to play out through a front to back. Mark always at JackeyLove's side, making sure none of the dive threat coming through from the Nautilus or the Zhao reaches him. He's DPSing freely. And once again, Wayward goes.
This is exactly it. This TES do not let you breathe as they already take down Light. They've already taken down Iwandi. And here comes Knight with a beautiful charm in top of it. Everybody's dead. Again, for like seemingly the 1,000th time. Allah, the only one alive. He's just running for the hills, but the base is in tatters here for LNG.
I mean, now for TS, they're just going to go end. Mark here going to come and stop recalls. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe just
does
he's
he
a bro.
handshake
Highlights.
Oh, he's going to use the hostile takeover. He didn't want to get close enough just in case for the handshake. We do see the handshake, though, going over to TES as they take down the Nexus for the second time of the night. One step away for top esports from double elim in the spring playoffs.
I gotta say, I think it would have been way more hilarious if Mark lets him recall, pops the emo, and is like, hey, you can go because my team's still just gonna kill you. We're like so far ahead, it does not matter if you recall. That's the correct thing. Cancels his back, but Mark, you were dominating. You could have gone for style points, especially when you have Wayward and topside spamming emotes all game. But, I mean, TS, I really like their draft coming out of it. LNG were aware that the Malphite pick was, you know, something that had to be on their mind because they banned it in Game 1 in second rotation. This time around, though, you hit on it with a bit of surprise, right? When they locked in that first pick, Jayce, like, oh, my God, they're going to go for this. Malphite comes through. And, again, Light didn't even get to play the game, man. Every time seeing the Nocturne Malphite combo come through. But even going back earlier, Top Esports early game was just on point. Tian really felt like he was everywhere. Goes up, covers topside, allows Wayward to set up the freeze. He's winning out in top lane, instantly goes to gank mid. They find a kill onto the Karma, and then recalls, go straight down towards the bot lane and gets them ahead with an early skirmish.
Exactly, and that is what was so crucial here. Again, it just feels like when TS are on form, the entire team has something to say about. Not a single player goes without having highlight moments. And I think that's so crucial when you're looking at TS as they approach these games, right? They changed up the style a little bit. They brought out the Nocturne to get the first win of the playoffs. And they got Wayward with the huge engages on the Malphite. At this point for LNG, draft is an amalgamation. I don't even know what to say. They've gone for the same style both times, but there hasn't been an answer to what TES is bringing.
I also find it just very, very interesting the way TS are approaching draft in terms of like hard committing to like, hey, we have Mark here peeling for our AD carry. It doesn't matter if hostile takeover is usually used, you know, against dive. We can push forward aggressively, get you in these close spaces and use it aggressively, but we're going to get our